If you found this video, it wasn't by accident. Something led you here today, right in the middle of everything you're carrying. A new season is opening in front of you. My name is Elijah Holloway, and after a lifetime of hard lessons, I've learned to trust these quiet moments. If you're ready to step into what God is calling you toward, subscribe, because that's the kind of encouragement I share here. So let me show you. Now, I want you to sit still with me for just a minute. Just a minute. Because in a world with a million voices all shouting for your attention, all pulling at your sleeve, all fighting to be heard, something quiet reached across the whole of that noise and set this word right in front of you. And I have lived long enough, and buried enough, and rejoiced enough to know that quiet things like that are rarely an accident. The loud things, the world arranges. But the quiet things, a word that finds you at the exact hour you needed it, and no sooner, that has the fingerprints of God all over it. Maybe you're tired tonight. And I don't mean the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. I mean tired down in a place that rest don't reach. You've been holding it together for everybody else, wearing the brave face, answering, "I'm fine," when your soul was anything but fine. You've been carrying something so heavy for so long that you forgot you were even carrying it. It just became the weight you learned to walk with, the limp you learned to hide. And I want to tell you, gently, the way somebody who loves you would tell you, you were never made to carry that thing forever. I don't know your name. I don't know your city. I don't know your story. I don't know the particular shape of the burden pressing down on your shoulders right now. But I know something about you tonight. Because the Spirit of God does not send a soul to a word like this by chance. You have been standing at the end of something, a season that has run its course, a chapter that has taken everything it is ever going to take from you. And a part of you is afraid, because the old thing is dying and the new thing has not yet shown its face. And there you stand, in that in-between place, in that gray hour before the dawn, wondering in the deep of your heart if the morning is ever going to come at all. So let me tell you what these long years have taught me. The morning always comes. It has never one time failed to come. Not in all my days. The night can be long. Lord knows, the night can feel like it means to swallow you whole. But the night has never, not one single time, in the history of this world, defeated the morning. And the same God who has kept every sunrise on its schedule since the foundation of the earth is not about to forget to bring the light back around to you. He knows exactly where you are. He knows your name, and He has not lost your address. I remember a stretch of my own life when I could not see 1 inch in front of me. Everything I had built with these 2 hands seemed to be coming apart at the seams, and I could not tell you why. I prayed, and the heavens felt like brass. I called, and the answer seemed a long time coming. And in the middle of that darkness, I was sure, I was certain, that God had turned His face from me. But looking back on it now, from this far down the road, I can see the truth of it. He had not turned away. He was working in a room I could not see into. He was closing a door on the old season so quietly and so kindly that I mistook His mercy for His absence. Before I go any further, let me stop right here. Let me pause here for just a moment. A long life gives you more than any one video could ever hold. So I sat down and put all of it into a book, start to finish, the kind of wisdom that only comes from living it. If you'd like it, that little code on your screen right now is where it lives. That's all I'll say on it. I won't bring it up again. Now, let's get back to it. The Word of God tells us that to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Now sit with the wisdom in that, because it is deeper than most folks ever stop to notice. It does not say some things have a season. It says everything does, which means the hard thing you are walking through right now, it has a season too. And a season, by its very nature, does not last forever. Winter is real. Winter is cold and long, and it strips the trees down to nothing. But winter has never once had the power to cancel the spring. And maybe that is the very word you needed to hear tonight. You have been in a winter, a long one, a winter of the finances, or a winter of the body, or a winter in the marriage, or a winter in the soul where you kept on going through all the motions of faith while the fire in you burned down to a few gray coals. And you started to wonder if this cold was just going to be your life now, if this was simply the way things were going to be from here on out. But hear me, and hear me plain. A winter is a season, not a sentence. What you are in is not your final address. It is a passage, it is a corridor, and a corridor was never built to be lived in. It was built to be walked through, into the room that God has already prepared on the other side. Look at what the prophet Isaiah heard the Lord say. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? A new thing, not a patched-up version of the old thing. Not the same tired disappointment wearing a fresh coat of paint. A new thing. And notice the timing of it now. It shall spring forth. Not someday. Not when you finally get it all together. Not when you have earned it or fixed yourself or paid off some invisible debt. Now, even now, while you are still standing there in the dry place, God is up to something new, and it is already beginning to break through the hard ground under your feet, whether you can see it yet or not. That is the way of a seed. Everything that matters in this life begins underground, in the dark, where no eye can watch it work. A farmer puts the seed down in the cold earth, and then he walks away, and to any passing stranger it looks like nothing at all is happening. It looks like loss. It looks like a good seed thrown away and buried and forgotten. But down under that soil, in the hidden dark, life is stirring. Roots are reaching down, the shell is breaking open. And one ordinary morning, when the farmer has almost stopped expecting it, a small green thing pushes its way up into the light. That is what God does in the buried seasons. He does the realest work of your life in the places you cannot see, in the years that feel wasted, in the waiting that feels like nothing is moving at all. Think of the men and women of the book. Before Moses ever stood before Pharaoh and thundered, "Let my people go," he spent 40 long years on the backside of a desert, keeping another man's sheep. 40 years. A man raised in a palace, tending livestock in the middle of nowhere, so far from anything that looked like destiny. And I promise you there were nights out there, under those cold desert stars, when Moses believed his whole life had passed him by, when he was sure God had forgotten the fire that once burned in his chest. But God had not forgotten him. God was hiding him. God was shaping him. God was emptying out the proud prince so he could fill up a humble deliverer. The wilderness was not punishment. The wilderness was preparation. And think of Joseph, the boy with the dream, sold by his own brothers, lied about, thrown into a pit, and then into a prison for a crime he never did. Year after year in a cell, forgotten by the very people he had helped. If ever a man had reason to say God had abandoned him, it was Joseph in that dungeon. But that prison was not the end of his story. It was the hallway to a throne. And one morning, out of nowhere, the same God who let him be forgotten reached down and lifted him from the prison to the palace in a single day. Understand me, your delay is not your denial. A long wait is not a locked door. Sometimes the pit and the prison are just the road God is paving to the very promise you gave up on. And David anointed as a boy to be king, and then sent right back out to the sheep. Anointed and then overlooked, called, and then made to wait years, running for his life, hiding in caves, while the crown God promised him sat on another man's head. But the throne was still coming. The word of God over his life was still true. It was simply taking the long road, the shaping road, the road that turns a shepherd boy into a king with a heart after God's own heart. So if you are anointed and still waiting, if God has spoken something over your life that has not come to pass yet, do not you dare give up on it. Heaven's clock keeps perfect time, even when it does not keep your time. Now, let me talk to somebody specific for a minute, because I believe the Lord put a face in my mind as I sat down to share this. Somebody watching right now has been the strong one for everybody else. You are the one they all lean on. You are the one who prays for the whole family, who shows up, who holds it down, who never lets anybody see you crack. And because you are always the shoulder, nobody ever thinks to ask, who is holding you? And you have gotten so used to pouring out that you forgot a cup that is always pouring runs dry in the end. Beloved, this new season, this word tonight, is God turning his attention to you, not to what you can do for everybody else, to you, because your Father sees the servant nobody serves, and he is drawing near to fill you back up. And somebody else needs to hear this. You did everything right, and it still fell apart. You kept your word when others broke theirs. You stayed faithful when it would have been easier to walk away. You did the honest thing, the hard thing, the godly thing, and it looks tonight like it cost you everything and bought you nothing. And you are tempted, deep down, to believe that doing right is a fool's road. Hear me. God is not a man that he should forget the labor of a faithful heart. What looks like loss in this season is a seed, and there is a harvest attached to it, with your name on it. Do not let this cold stretch turn your heart hard. The very tenderness the world tried to punish out of you is the thing God is about to reward. There is an old story I have carried with me my whole life, of the prophet Elijah, the man I was named after. He had just come off the mountaintop, the greatest victory of his life, fire falling from heaven in front of the whole nation. And then the very next thing, that same man was sitting under a lonely tree in the desert, so worn out and cast down that he asked God to just let him die. Now sit with that. The lowest valley came right on the heels of the highest peak. And it can be that way for you too. Sometimes the dark season shows up right after the breakthrough, and it confuses you, and you think you must have done something wrong to fall so far so fast. But watch what God did. He did not scold Elijah. He did not lecture him. He let him sleep. He fed him. He sent an angel to touch him and say, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." And then, and only then, he spoke, and not in the wind, and not in the earthquake, and not in the fire, but in a still, small voice. And that is how God is speaking to you tonight. Not in the thunder, not in some grand and terrifying display. In a still, small voice, quiet enough that you had to be led to a moment like this one to hear it at all. That is why he got you still. That is why he set this word in front of you at this exact hour. Because the God of the universe wanted to sit down beside you in the quiet and say, "Child, I see you. I have not left you, and I am doing a new thing." So do not despise the smallness of how he is speaking. The still, small voice built the whole world, and the same voice is speaking a new beginning over your life right now. Do not despise small beginnings either. The word warns us plainly not to look down on the day of small things, because a new season rarely arrives with trumpets and a parade. More often it comes as a small nudge, a door cracked open just an inch, a single unexpected phone call, a quiet peace about a decision you have wrestled with for months, a small door of hope in a valley that has felt like nothing but trouble. And the temptation is to overlook the small thing while you keep waiting on the big dramatic sign. But that small crack of light is the dawn. That little green shoot pushing up through the hard ground is the harvest beginning. Honor it, water it. Say thank you over it. Because what you celebrate, God multiplies, and what you despise, you delay. Now I have to tell you the honest truth about a new season, because I am not here to sell you an easy word. A new season will always ask you to let go of something. You cannot lay hold of what God has in front of you while your hands are still clutching what is behind you. The Apostle Paul said it clean, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. Reaching forward. You cannot reach forward with your arms wrapped tight around the past. Some of you are being invited into a brand new thing, but you keep going back to the grave of the old thing, laying flowers on it, weeping over what was and what could have been. And beloved, you were not meant to live your life in a cemetery of what is already gone. Let it go. Let go of the offense you have been nursing until it turned bitter in you. Let go of the version of your life you thought you would have by now, the timeline you drew up that God never signed off on. Let go of the guilt over yesterday that keeps dragging you backward when God is calling you forward. Let go of the fear that whispers, "You are too old, too broken, too far gone, too used up for God to do anything new with you." That is a lie, and it was fitted to your ear on purpose, because the enemy of your soul is terrified of what happens the day you finally believe your best days are still out ahead of you. Because here is what I know about our God. He specializes in the impossible. He makes a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. He takes the thing that was dead and he breathes on it, and it lives again. He takes the years the locust ate and he gives them back with interest. He takes the broken, discarded, overlooked, counted out pieces of a life, and he builds something with them that leaves the whole world in wonder. And he wants to do that in you, not in the person you wish you were. In you, just as you are, right where you sit, with all your scars, and all your doubts, and all your unanswered prayers. The Lord said through Jeremiah, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." Sit in that a while. The thoughts God is thinking about you right now, this very night, are thoughts of peace, not thoughts of punishment, not thoughts of disappointment in you, thoughts of peace and a future and a hope and an expected end. The story is not finished. The last chapter has not been written, and I have read enough of how God works to promise you that He does not end His stories in defeat. He ends them in glory. So what does He ask of you tonight? Not that you have it all figured out, not that you feel strong or ready or worthy. He asks one thing. He asks you to take the next step, just the next one. You do not have to see the whole staircase. You only have to trust Him for the next stair. When God called Abraham, He did not hand him a map. He said, "Go to a land that I will show you." Not a land I have shown you, a land I will show you. The showing came in the going. And the same is true for you. The clarity you are begging God for is on the other side of your obedience, not in front of it. You take the step in faith, and then the light comes. And let me settle something in you about the timing, because I know the waiting has been the hardest part of all. You are not behind. I know it feels like everybody else got their season on schedule, and you got skipped, that the world moved on and left you standing still. But God is not running a race against your neighbor's life, and neither should you be. He is a potter, and a potter does not rush the clay. He works it slow. He presses out the air pockets and the hidden weaknesses that would shatter the vessel the moment the heat came. And what feels to you like a painful, pointless delay is the Master's patient hands making you strong enough to hold the very thing you have been asking Him for. If He gave it to you one day sooner, it would break you. His timing is not Him withholding good from you. His timing is Him protecting you until you are ready to carry the weight of the blessing. So, stop measuring your life by a clock that God never wound. This is the truth of who He is. He is the God who was never early, and He has never once been late. He is the God of the 11th hour, the God who shows up in the fire and not before it, the God who parts the sea when your back is already against the water. He closed the lions' mouths. He opened the prison doors. He rolled the stone away when every hope had been sealed in a tomb for 3 days. Delay is not defeat in the hands of a God like that. Delay is just the room He works in. And He is working, even now, even tonight, even in the part of your life that has felt the most forgotten. So let me speak this over you as I close, and receive it, because I believe it landed on you tonight for a reason. This is the year the winter breaks in your life. This is the season the door you have been knocking on finally swings open. Something new is springing forth, and you are going to know it. The weight you have carried so long you forgot its name, you are going to set it down. The prayer you almost stopped praying, you are going to see it answered. The dream you buried and mourned as dead, get ready, because resurrection is the specialty of the God we serve. This is your new beginning. This is the turning of the page. This is the God who makes all things new, laying his hand upon your life and calling forth the good thing he planted in you before you were ever born. He is calling you out of the winter. He is calling you out of the waiting. He is calling you out of the grief and the fear and the long, cold silence and into a season of harvest and healing and joy that will surprise you with how deep it runs. You do not have to strive for it. You do not have to earn it. You only have to open your hands and receive what a good father delights to give his child. You did not find this word by accident. You were led here. So stand up on the inside of yourself, wherever you are. Lift up your head. The God who counts the very hairs on your head, who catches every tear before it falls, who has walked with you faithfully through every long night of your life, is not finished with you. He is calling you, by name, into a new season. And all he is waiting on is for you to say yes. So say yes, take the step, and walk on into the good thing your Father has been preparing for you all along. Go in peace, go in faith, and go knowing you are loved, you are seen, and you are never, ever walking alone. The one who began a good work in you will be faithful to finish it, and he does not start what he cannot complete. So lift up your eyes tonight. Your winter is ending. Your morning is breaking, and your new season has already begun. Walk on into it, child. Your Father is waiting for you there, and he has been waiting all along, with his arms flung open wide, to hold you,